Oops. Kitty time. Oh. Hi everybody, it's Steve Olson. This is Friday, June 17th, 2016, and I just wanted to start out by showing y'all what I mean by when somebody comes to me and says, when is the system coming? And I say, it's already here, and we're already seeing the effects of it in a dramatic way. What I did was I went through, instead of looking at one of these kind of graphs, which is kind of like, okay, it does have a lot of information where it shows this dramatic rise in earthquakes. But to make it even more dramatic, let's pretend that in 1983-84, with the adjusted magnitude, because they, of course, you know that they dropped the magnitude, they adjusted the magnitude down, so you have to adjust their figures. And when you do that, what you find out is that there's almost a 10,000% jump. So in the last 12 months, we have 495 5 magnitude plus earthquakes. In the adjusted 83-84 model, we had 45 in the same period over the June to June period. So as you can see, if we were talking, let's say that was 1983 and then we went into it was 1985, and we saw a 10,000% jump in magnitude 5 earthquakes, that would set off alarm bells across the world. But because we're like the frog in the boiling water, where we first got into the water and it was cold, and then over time they just continually kind of prepare us and condition our brains to accept this. I wanted to illustrate that if we had this kind of a dramatic change in just 1 year, from this 83-84 period to the last 12 months, the whole world would be panicking right now. And that's what I mean by the system is here. Just because we kind of got warmed up in like the frog in the water pan to the point now where the water is boiling does not mean that the system isn't here. And that this kind of illustrates that point. Okay, so here's some photography where they're catching the object next to the sun, which stays stationary. And then here's another one with kind of a corroborating view of it. And I'm seeing a lot of these pictures now where I'm seeing something behind the sun. And here's what we think might be causing this, is this refraction that we're seeing from the All Skycam network that Roy, my hero and brother from another mother, has been helping me with. But as you can see, as we go through this kind of time lapse that Roy did from the Cumberland Head Observatory in Plattsburgh, New York, you can see that he captured this object group, very bright, very distinct, very easy to see. And while it definitely is a reflection or a refraction, it's getting very intense, very colorful, and very easy to see. And here is the one that just, when you really zoom in on the really bright red one now in the United States sky cams, it's looking like an orb, three-dimensional. It's pretty interesting, And then if we go to the Cades Observatory in Australia, we're getting some interesting time-lapse effect when we look at this this time on June 17th, and we are actually seeing these orbs in the sky, and then we're also seeing these other orbs and things in the background, along with this triangle star configuration, which we're going to talk about more as we go forward. And then here we've got these north-facing Canadian cams. These are weather cams from Canada, and you can see the blue orbs, very strange manifestation behind them. And then it's interesting that we're getting these from all these aircraft places. Now I'm going to leave you the link below so you can go to this one yourself, but check out these from the FAA sites up in Alaska. Bright red orb in the sky. Interesting. So here's some UV filtered photography from North America. and I and the gentleman that sent this were having a discussion that, we were theorizing that there's some type of a shield or reflective or refractive blocking in front of the sun that creates that kind of multiple red rose petal effect that we see. And his hypothesis was that it's put up there in order to refract the light in multiple directions, as if to create kind of like that effect in a house of mirrors, where instead of one of your faces, you see like 8 of your faces at one time. And then he was trying to isolate which one of the red balls was the real one, and he feels that this is the corner that is the correct real one, and the rest of them are a reflection. So I thought it was an interesting theory, but it just feels like light's being bounced around up there quite effectively, to where that we can, we can make out planetary surfaces and things like that. But again, these are reflected images, so it's really hard to convince people, right? But here's an interesting test. Again, one of my hero subscribers here, she actually did a thumb test with the spoon. And what's interesting about this is, before she did the photograph with the spoon in front of the sun, what you'll notice is that it looks like there's many orbs around the sun. Again, could this be an effect of some type of reflecting technology, either sprayed in the atmosphere or put somewhere near the sun? I would say it's more in the atmosphere, based on our balloon flight, high altitude balloon flights. We were also seeing the very same types of refraction and reflections in those things, and we were seeing things like the big green orb and things that could be refracting or reflecting from behind the sun. But what was really cool about what she did was, when she put the spoon in front of the sun to block the sunlight, the one orb that was real was this one. So it's just an interesting thought that maybe there's some trickery, illusionary stuff going on that's really not that complicated to pull off if you think about it, but can be effectively defeated with just a simple spoon. Now here's an interesting photograph, but it was taken back in April, but still shows this was strangely similar to that guy down in Mexico who claimed that he had captured it. A lot of people said that it was a hoax, but this kind of is a corroborating photograph almost to what he had found down in, yeah, I think it was Mexico. So here you're looking at the FAA Aviation Weather Camera main site list, and a lot of the pictures that I'm going to show you in the sub photos today are coming from these sky cams. And what's really cool about these, and we can go to any one of these, they've actually got up to 6 days of footage on these cams, right? And so basically you can go to, like, let's go to amber, and it's in the north, south, southeast, south, and west cams are on. And what's really cool about this site for doing research is you can actually look in different directions from the site itself, and then go through and then loop. So let's look at the north amber cam just real quick, and I'll just show you. And you can see it's 6 hours old, but you can just play and then go through, or just just manually go through and see what happened for a period of time. So I just wanted to point this out to you as a good research tool as you're trying to find images of things in the sky. Now that's where we got this image, where we're seeing this red orb in all these different images that we've been talking about. And again, sometimes you see it next to the sun, but what's interesting about it is sometimes you don't see it next to the sun. And that's what's kind of scary and weird, because I would expect it to be some kind of a lens flare, but when it just kind of is seen in the sky by itself, that red orb, it's interesting. Now this is that familiar Grumpy Moose all Skycam camera that we talked about with Catfish, and that he had claimed that these two big triangles were actually the magnetic signatures of the stars or stars that are coming towards us. And I just wanted to get feedback if anybody's been able to look into that a little bit more. But we're seeing this triangle manifestation very clearly. The other possibility that I considered was maybe they're using some kind of blocking technology there, so we can't see what's going on in Grumpy Moose. But even while they do that, we go down to the Mexico sky cams, and we're seeing this type of phenomenon now. And we know we're seeing some kind of green orb from the balloon launches that we did the other day. But again, these are hard to pass off as sun flares when they're a completely different color than what it's reflecting. And then we're seeing on a lot of sky cams too, and this is something that harkens back to February when I was looking at this triangle of objects that had flown past the sun. But what's interesting about this image is that in this one we not only have those 3 orbs like that, we also have some kind of a strange, if I go up here to the corner, kind of thing with a red tail on it, and you know that always is disconcerting to Wormwood Nibiru researchers. And then we get these pictures all the time now, where it's just like one part of the sky gets completely blocked out. Could a cloud possibly do that? I guess a really tall one could. Again, more from Alaska. But here's when I look at these little red orbs when they're next to the sun, what's confusing to me though is, why is it backwards? Why wouldn't I have more light on this side and I have more light on the bottom of it? I don't know. It's kind of interesting. But again, there's another orb from one of those places that you can go check out yourself. Here's some more photographs from the United States. This one suspiciously could be a lens flare, but again, it's an interesting little thing. Here's our Albuquerque, New Mexico blood moon again, 3 nights in a row. However, we did get an explanation for the blood moons, and I just wanted to put it out there that it's probably more likely from the fires that are happening in the southwest United States. So one of the causes of this could definitely be the fires that are happening. But it's just, here we go, another unscheduled blood moon. And then here again, we see this, you know, in the All Sky Cam network, we see this, you know, interesting triangle of objects, again, similar to what we just looked at, that corroborates with the other camera. And then we're seeing, you know, clearly we're seeing this thing behind the sun as it moves through the sky. We see it in different places, this little orange orb, which was pointed out in that photograph. Again, more of the same there. Now, this one was kind of interesting because look at this. This kind of reminds me of that cloud in Portugal that happened a couple months ago. But as I zoom out, what we're really looking at is a California Skycam. And that is a very unique red manifestation of a cloud or phenomenon in the atmosphere that would, you know, kind of go along with our hypothesis, which iron oxide is what this system is carrying around. Again, here's a close-up of one of those orbs that we see in the FAA webcams, and we see them all the time now. In fact, I did a time lapse in the last video, if you remember. This is infrared photography showing a red object behind the sun here, and again, you can see that it kind of covers the chemtrail a little bit, so that could be a lens flare. But again, just interesting photograph. And then I'm seeing a lot of the green, like I said, the green orb. But isn't it interesting how they're chemtrailing in the same place as these two manifestations? And this one is very interesting to me in the sense that this is from the 16th, and you can basically see this object above the sun, or some kind of a reflection, refraction, or other type of phenomenon from this Earth cam. This to me is one of the best pictures I've seen this week. That is absolutely legitimate. Here's our little, we've got our halo around the moon at nighttime on the All Sky Cam network, and if we look closely, sometimes we can see little orbs in the view. And here we go again. Even though I know that we're probably looking at a lot of flares here around the sun, and none of these are objects, possibly this big red one could be, but look at this. There's that damn green cross again, man, and that is just strange and weird, and if somebody can explain how you get a refraction that's a cross in the middle of a circle, I would like to know. And then we've got the red iron oxide sunsets, is what we're calling them here. We looked at that picture already. Sharon's always good for a great image or two, and one of the things that we're noticing as she looks at the sun and starts to take photographs is, yeah, potentially these could be planetary objects behind the sun, or somehow, in whatever orientation they are. But we're always seeing these like little bulbs everywhere too, which just tells me that there's some kind of again, that's a theory, but one of my theories is that they're refracting this light all over the place, so it's really hard to make out the object or where it is, like the spoon test that we talked about a few minutes ago. And let's just see here, you know, some different things. What was interesting about this one was that I had light going in two directions. So I had light coming this way and light coming this way. So as if there are two light sources. That's an interesting thought from that subscriber. And then, oh my, this is a very, you know, sobering photograph, because it could potentially be one of the objects that we're looking at, the blue Kachina. And, you know, again, we're being disciplined using our thumb techniques. So those were the subscriber photographs for the week. or for up until Friday, June 17th, 2016. I want to let you all know that the leaders are getting more and more organized. We have had 2 WSO leader meetings, and if you don't know what that is, what we basically do is we're going to have people that you can get to know locally and start to get other people to know other people locally, facilitated by WSO channel here, so that you can start to prepare and get some idea of what you need to do. Look for that new leader list to come out early next week, and then we will be putting it up at the end of every video once we get that reorganized. So with that,